Okay, let's talk a little bit, one other thing. What did we say? That there's no cost, right? I told Ellen, there's no cost to her. Okay, when I was selling the vacuum cleaners, do you think the commission of the vacuum cleaners was built into the product?
Sure it is.
Absolutely. The same thing with the annuities. They're built into the product. And so you get less money because the commission is built into the product. And that's why I say use Vanguard or TIAA CREF if you want to look at a fixed annuity. What else? Taxes. We said no taxes. Again, it's a little Don Juan white lie. Okay? It works like an IRA account. So long as you have money inside the IRA, you're not taxed on that earnings, right? But what happens when you pull the money out of that IRA? You get taxed. The same way with an annuity. So long as you leave the money inside the annuity with the insurance company, you are not taxed. So, how are you taxed when you pull it out? Ordinary income tax. So what happens is people hold these things for approximately 20 years, and they give, usually, these annuities to their children, right? Now, no taxes have been paid on this. So I'm just going to guess. I'm going to say, let's say we did what you have done. I'm guessing that you went into, let's say you went into the mutual fund area, and let's say your annuities are, how are we doing on time, Mike? 2:15. Okay. Let's say this annuity net value now is $300,000, and it goes to your daughter.
So that means you died and it goes to your daughter?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no tax. All right.
You're somewhere nice. Oh, no. I'm dreaming. Okay, $300,000. What does she receive? The entire $300,000? No. What's the federal tax? Let's say she has a job and she makes $75,000 a year. So that's now, she has to report on her income taxes $375,000. What income tax bracket does that put her in? 39? Let's say 40% on the federal level. I'm just guessing because I can't add. What is that on the California level? 10%. Then, so what does she end up with?
50%.
Yeah.
What about the cost basis of the original policy?
Oh, excuse me. So you're absolutely right. Let's say I didn't. Cost basis are not taxable because it's principal, not the earnings. But anyway.
So $100,000.
$100,000 less. I still feel that you're in the top income tax bracket, and you can't stretch these out. There's no, like an IRA, you can stretch it out, and we'll go into that later, but on these, you can't stretch it out.
But if it's an inheritance, there's
no step up in basis on annuities.
Okay.
They're horrible from a tax point of view because they come out as ordinary income. And a lot of people invest in mutual funds in the stock market. If you invest in a stock and you hold it for more than a year and you sell it, what's your top tax rate?
Right now it's 15%.
It's 15%. Here we're looking at 40.
So we better use these up before we kick the bucket.
Exactly. You may want to, yes.
What happens if the annuity is written in the inheritor's name? In other words, if the annuity is owned by the daughter?
Doesn't make any difference. Anytime you pull out that money, it's going to be taxed at ordinary income tax rates and California income tax rates. So your after-tax return is a pittance. That's what I'm trying to make. Okay? We don't care, really. You never care what you really earn. You want to know what your after-tax return is. And this is treated horribly under ordinary income taxes. Yes?
Isn't it different for variable and fixed annuities?
No, it's the same.
It wasn't one time.
And we're good. No, it never has been. We'll get into variable after a little bit. We want to get the mutual fund part first, and then we'll come back and do the variable. Yes?
Is that true if it's in a trust?
Makes no difference where it is. In fact, on a trust, on an irrevocable trust, you really have to be careful of fixed income or ordinary income, because your top tax rate on a trust, on an irrevocable trust, is $10,000 worth of earnings, and you're at the top income tax bracket. So you want to really manage that money completely different.
Yeah. Since teachers and other nonprofits, people have, 501c3, 403b plans under that and whatnot, and you're talking about an accumulation period here, and you're talking about taking money out of the accumulation. I mean, the money comes out as an annuity. That's the whole idea of annuitizing something.
Right, and the idea behind that is that, hey, when you retire, you're going to be in a lower income tax bracket and therefore not pay as much. Well, but, it used to be that the only way you could invest your money was with a TSA, a tax sheltered annuity. That was no longer the case about 15, 20 years ago. But teachers, you don't go into teaching because of money. And so all of a sudden you have your best friends, the principal secretary, everybody's selling you annuities. At Long Beach State University, we had to ban insurance agents from campus because 99% of the faculty had annuities. And it's awful. And so you think the person is a nice person? Hey, the secretary's selling me. She wouldn't, why would she be selling me anything bad? Well, these annuities just have an enormous commissions. And so, TSAs, they're awful. But you don't have to invest in fixed or in the fixed income area on TSAs. You can also transfer your TSAs or your annuities. It's called a 1235 exchange. So if you don't like the company you're with, you could change them over to a Vanguard. But you still have the tax issue. So, and so sometimes when we're in retirement, we want to kind of go, what retirement funds do we want to use first? Well, a lot of times you want to use these because they're such a tax burden if you can use them and not go into the next income tax bracket. And that's why it's really important to have a good conversation with your accountant, and so that you can kind of plan where are you going to get your income from, so from a tax point of view. Yes?
On your scenario, could the owner in that 20-year cycle take the $200,000 gain and take out like $50,000 a year and go back to the $100,000 initial to go to the daughter?
Absolutely. Most people don't. It's kind of like most people that I talk to don't want to take any money out of their IRA. Why? Because they're going to get taxed.
Yeah, you're going to get taxed.
Yeah, and so that's why everybody leaves the money in here. And they're awful. And not only are they awful, but when they get the monies, they get the check, what do they do normally? They spent it. Okay, and what happens at April 15th?
No money.
No money. Happens all the time. Okay, that's the annuity. Okay, stay away, be cautious. Very difficult to understand and to read, and we'll go into indexed annuities and variable annuities in just a we're going to talk a little bit about mutual funds. And Michael is a registered investment advisor. He has approximately $75 million under management, and he does this for 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, manages money. And we're going to go through, like I said, next week, particularly how to identify individuals, but I want to just focus right now on the mutual funds and not kind of go through Michael's Ask First form. Michael, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks for the time. I want to say my approach is not as entertaining as Don Juan. I go for the dragnet approach. Remember my key line from dragnet? It was just the fact. So mutual fund, how many people here have invested with mutual funds? Okay, so you're basically familiar with a mutual fund. It's when you don't want to pick individual investments here for yourself. You hire an investment manager, a mutual fund manager, and they pick the investments for you. What do they get paid for doing that? Anybody know?
You get a commission.
Well, the investment manager actually is paid a management fee, okay? That's part of what they call an expense ratio, okay? So every mutual fund has an expense ratio which includes a management fee, okay? The expense ratio can vary anywhere from a fraction of 1% up until north of 2%, depending on how much the company decides to charge, what kind of product they're managing, and so forth. It's not transparent to you. When you see a return on a mutual fund, it's already netted out the expenses. So if you see a mutual fund return 5%, it may have returned 7%, but there was a 2% expense ratio, okay? Now there's different types, these things are sold in different ways, okay? So first you have load funds. By the way, let me make one comment too about mutual funds. It's important to differentiate between the vehicle, which is a mutual fund, and what's inside the vehicle, which could be anything, right? So sometimes people ask the question, are mutual funds safe? Well, you can't answer that question. The mutual fund is just the vehicle. It depends what's inside the vehicle, right? They could be risky, they could be safe, okay?